City of Stevens Point Bicycle and Pedestrian Street Safety Commission meeting, recorded July 11, 2023.
I call this meeting of the Stevens Point Bicycle and Pedestrian Street Safety Commission to order. Please call the roll call.
O'Mara?
Here.
Finn?
Here.
Lassance?
Here.
Cole?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
And Fisher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
The first thing on the agenda is a report of the March 9th, 2023 meeting of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Street Safety Commission. Does anyone have any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I motion to approve.
All in favor?
Second.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Discussion of an upcoming Community Transportation Academy in Stevens Point.
All right, I will have Susan step up and give a presentation, and I'll actually hop on over to her presentation that she'll. I'd say in front of the podium just so the audio can, yeah, just behind the podium, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Some of you have met before. It's really great to see you again. My name is Susan Gettert. I am Community Programs Director at 1000 Friends of Wisconsin. So if you go to the next slide, there's a little bit of information there about who we are as an organization if you're not already familiar. We're a nonprofit environmental organization specializing in land use planning and transportation policy. And we've been around since 1996. We started as a task force to help write the comprehensive planning law that was passed in Wisconsin, and since then we've been promoting healthy communities through good land use planning and transportation policy. One of the programs that we have is Active Wisconsin, which is a network of advocates and communities that are dedicated to better active transportation options in their cities and towns. So we have newsletters for both of those, and there's more information about all of that on our websites. So we can go to the next one. But we're really excited about this program we have started this year. Stevens Point will be just the second community where we are bringing this academy to. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and why we're doing it and who it's for and everything. So we started this academy because, I don't know where I should look. I guess I should look at you guys. We started this academy because there is, I think I'm preaching to the choir here when I say that transportation impacts every part of our daily lives. But there is growing public awareness of that in general. I think that a lot of that has sprung from the crisis of the pandemic over the last 3 years because we've seen so many changes. Early on when people were working from home or not able to go to work at all, when you couldn't find a bicycle for love or money, when transit systems were disrupted, there were just a lot of sort of everyday access issues of transportation that were coming up for people. And we saw that in headlines, in mainstream news publications. It's also because there are a lot of issues of social inequality that are very tied to transportation and what access people have. And we're seeing more interest in advocacy around that at the local level, especially here in Wisconsin, where we don't always see a lot of forward leadership at the state level, or where you'll have deadlock kind of at the state level politics. So we see people really interested in where they can make change at the local level. That's also reflected in a lot of the federal money for infrastructure that is available. It's not enough, and we can have issues about exactly how it's coming down to localities. But in order to help communities be better prepared for that, it's important, I think, to train advocates for that. So the next slide. So the Academy, it's a free course. It's 10 weeks. It is for community members who want to learn the basics of local transportation planning in their own city and region. So it's very community specific. We actually started this in La Crosse. So we did it over in the spring there, and it was very specific to La Crosse issues and the kind of the things they had in place. But it's an opportunity for knowledge building, so we don't design it around a specific project or a specific issue, although we do bring in a lot of local examples to help people understand, you know, whatever the concepts are that are being introduced. But it's really about building that knowledge base and helping connect people with each other and with the decision makers in their community so they understand better what the points of intervention are when they're advocating for something, whether it's something as simple as a speed bump or better sidewalk connections or something bigger like in La Crosse, for example, they have a climate action plan that they adopted earlier in the year, and people were very interested in how transportation was a part of that. So that's just an example. And the goal ultimately is just a system that works better for everyone, because we know that it doesn't work equally well for everybody in a community. So the outcomes that we want are for people to understand some of those basics, because it really is pretty complex. There are a lot of agencies and a lot of funding mechanisms, so it's an education opportunity. We want people to come out of it understanding better how transportation systems impact other areas of social inequality that I think are forefront in a lot of people's minds. You know, we have a housing crisis and income disparities, and transportation is implicated in all of that. We want people to be able to think critically about how transportation affects things like public health, how it's implicated in climate change, and also for participants to come out of it with some idea of how to problem solve for changes in their own communities. Also, and this for me is one of the biggest things about this, is the opportunity to build and develop relationships between people in the community who are living every day in the built environment and the consequences of how that built environment was designed, with the decision makers, you know, the planners and the engineers and the elected officials who are in charge, you know, who are pulling the levers. So we want to help build those relationships and also help introduce people to each other who care about the same things. Because there's a lot of passion out there, and sometimes, you know, you don't always know who to connect to and how to channel it in a way that is productive and helpful. So, with that said, this academy, if you're wondering who it's for you. It's for anyone who is interested in these issues and is willing to dedicate a little bit of time every week for 10 weeks to learn about it. We offer it free of charge, thanks to the generosity of, we raise money to make this available free of charge. This picture here on the slide is of our cohort in La Crosse, and you can probably tell from the picture that we had a real wide cross-section of ages from the community. We also had a range of professional experience and interests. You know, the reasons people were there were varied. We had people were there who took the class because they were advocates for something specific like transit or bike access, that just wanted to broaden their knowledge of how the systems work in the city. We did have some students that took it for credit. They got 1 hour of independent study credit. We had a city alderman in the class. Let's see, we had some people who took it for professional development, so some newer city and county staff from the area who just, who were actually able to get some professional CM credit for it. And one of the reasons it was so successful, I think, was because we had people ranging in age from 20 to 75. We had people there for all kinds of different reasons who were bringing in a lot of different professional experience and lived experience, and that just added to what we were learning from each other as well as from the experts who spoke to the class. So I'll move to just a little bit of the mechanics of how this works, how the class works. It's 10 sessions. We'll meet on Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. starting in early September, going through early November. 4 of those sessions will be in person here in Stevens Point. At the university, we're still working out the exact location, but we'll have that settled in the next week or so, I think. And then 6 will be virtual via Zoom. I will be the one facilitating the course, but each class session will have 1 or more guest speakers to talk about a particular topic. That's the first hour of the session, and the second part of the class is more extended discussion or interactive activities with the participants. Let's see. Oh yeah. There is the opportunity to create a final project. Students taking for credit will have to. Everybody else is just encouraged to. And that final project can be basically any local problem that you can find a solution for in the class. So taking even the smallest issue, it can be one intersection, it can be some citywide issue, but proposing a solution to that problem based on what you've learned in the class. And in lacrosse, we had about 30 people in the class, and we had 6 final presentations. So it was kind of timed out perfectly. We also, because we're working with the UWSP, have everything for the class on Canvas, which is really helpful. Canvas is the online learning management system, so we have forum discussions, all the materials are there, there's a calendar with all the Zoom links and stuff, so it's just helps with organizing. Okay, next one. This is the list of topics. The Academy, because it's very localized, I work with people within the community, so I've been talking with Adam a lot and some other people here to come up with topics that seem the most important and relevant for Stevens Point. A lot of these we also covered in the first one in lacrosse, so it kind of depends on where we are. But you can get an idea here of the kinds of things we talk about. So it's not all just about bike and pedestrian, or like I said, it's not about one particular project or issue, but it's more about how the systems work and how they work here, how they work, what things are applicable everywhere. We have some local speakers lined up for some of these topics. We have some speakers with more national or statewide expertise. It's kind of a mix. So that will be an opportunity for the class to hear from both the people that they would interact with locally and then kind of on a bigger scale. All of the topics there with asterisks are the in-person ones. So the first and last one are in person so that we can actually mingle and hear from each other. We will also do a walk, roll, audit, and local tour, and some tour of transit facilities or bus stops. We're still kind of working out the details on that one. And to give you kind of a better idea of some of the stuff we did in the first academy, of what kinds of things will be available for participants here, I have photos of some of the highlights from lacrosse. So our transit tour involved a talk from their director of their MTU, that's their transit system. We rode a bus to their bus barn and took a look at their charging infrastructure for the electric buses, and people had lots and lots and lots of questions for him about how routes were determined, how they were modernizing their payment system, and all that kind of stuff. So that was one highlight. We also did a walk audit of it's Losey Boulevard, which is it's a local road. It runs north-south. It functions kind of like a highway because it's very wide. Adam, I see you smiling.
Went to school in lacrosse, so
Yeah.
I know this quite well.
Yes. Well, and the walk audit, because this took place in the spring semester, I scheduled it way at the end. It was not till April because I didn't want us to have to walk through knee-deep snow or in the dark. And Losey just kept coming up in the class as a problematic street where people did not feel safe because cars were going so fast and because there were I mean, there's at least a couple of places like where there was a school and there was a crosswalk marked, but no light or anything for safety. So we were able to borrow a couple of wheelchairs and see what that felt like. Not that that's the same as being a wheelchair user, but we could feel how bumpy the sidewalk was and how hard it was to reach the push buttons and stuff like that. And you can see there was quite a messy construction zone there too. So that was a very informative class. And then the final session was a lot of fun because by then we all knew each other pretty well, and we actually got to hear from the participants about what their concerns were, what their projects were. And I listed the topics here, and you can see that of the 6 presentations, there were no 2 that covered the same thing. We were looking at bike access and bike parking, pedestrian safety, climate action. There was a county park that had some traffic flow issues. It was just a real range of stuff. And everybody seemed to get a lot out of it. So I think that's all I have to say by way of introduction. We do have applications open now. They will close on the 14th of August. So you've got about a month to apply. There is more information and details on the website. You are welcome to email me with any questions. I will also be here tomorrow to do some more touring of the city. Today I rode the bus and walked a lot around, and it was great. And I also have some postcards that I can hand out to you later. But if you have questions, yeah.
2 things. Could you go back to the slide that listed the topics?
Yeah.
And is that tailored to Stevens Point right now?
Yes.
Topics, or is that what it was for lacrosse?
That's what we've settled on for Stevens Point.
Could you read those, just because it's even like looking?
Oh, sure.
It's kind
Yeah.
of small and it's hard for
Yeah,
just
of
to
course.
concentrate on while you're talking. If you could
Of
just
course.
read those aloud.
Sure. The first week will be just sort of a broad history and the modern impact of, it's a mouthful, redlining, urban renewal, and highways. Basically, we've got a speaker from UW-Milwaukee who is fantastic, but he is an expert in, he has a law degree as well as a planning degree, but it's basically an overview of the last 100 years of transportation planning and kind of how we got to the point where we are today. And then we will also be introducing ourselves to each other and doing an interactive activity with a couple of UWSP professors. The second week, we're still nailing down guest speakers, but that will be something about sustainability, land use, and how all that fits into transportation planning. I'm hoping to work some stuff in there about parking, because that is a big issue, and we don't always talk about parking the right way, I think. Week 3 is state and local processes for highway redesign. Our speaker there is a new employee at 1,000 Friends of Wisconsin who used to work for the Wisconsin DOT, and knows a lot about how those processes work. So he'll kind of talk us through some of that, which I think, I hear there are some local issues with some local roads, so I think there'll be a lot of questions for him. The fourth one, Dangerous by Design, we have a speaker from Transportation for America. They do a report every year on traffic crashes, serious injuries and fatalities, and they collect an enormous amount of data, and they know where the places are that those crashes happen and where they're the deadliest and what the factors are in that. So that was a really important one for the last academy. So we're really happy that they're able to bring that back, because there's a lot of data out there on how to design roads not to be so dangerous. We'll do a walk roll audit and tour, probably around the campus area. Safe streets and livable communities. We're still kind of nailing down the details on that one, but we'll have a speaker from AARP Wisconsin talking about their work that they do with livable communities, and hopefully hearing about, hopefully, a successful grant for safe streets here. And also, well, I'm giving away all the secret sauce, Adam, but I think hoping to hear about how smaller cities and communities collaborate on a lot of these projects. Complete Streets and Gender Equity, that we have speakers from UW-Madison who do a lot of research on street safety and how gender impacts that, and also the mobility of care and caregiving tasks and what that has to do with transportation, which is not something that automatically comes to mind, but once you start thinking about it, it's kind of everything. So people who are taking care of children or disabled people or older adults, it's huge, especially when they're limited in terms of vehicle access. We'll do some kind of transit tour, still working the details on that one. I like to spend the penultimate session or close to the end on advocacy and effective communication. Like, how do we take all of this information and turn it into meaningful action? And then the last week is final presentations, where we hear from the participants. So that might have been more detail than you asked for.
No, thank you. Perfect. I think we appreciate that. Because if we're going to be talking to others about it, so that we know a little more ourselves about it. Which brings me to my second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that the schedule is on our website. And as we confirm who the speakers are and everything, I'll be adding that too. So you can always look there.
The second one is, how else are you promoting this? I don't know who's,
Well, I have lots of postcards for you all to take. And I'm meeting some other people locally and talking to them, and they're helping spread the word, and I have some flyers to post. And
Yeah, and that'll be something that once the schedule gets finalized, hopefully within the next week or two, is when we'll kind of do a pretty hard launch with sending information to the alders to distribute to their constituents, having press releases, information provided by community media, just hearsay conversation amongst you all. I mean, we're all going to leverage the 6 of you to talk with people that you know about this. So.
Yep, and I'll have things written out and ready to post and forward and things, so you can just sort of plug it in. Yeah.
Why so early at 4 o'clock?
Oh, that's such a good question. We really kind of sweated over the time and day of the week to do this. We were really trying to strike the balance between not cutting into the middle of the workday, but also not taking up too much evening time. I do know that for people who have children, that after-school childcare is an issue. There's not a perfect time. Another thing was the availability of the speakers, because they're all people who do this professionally, and they're more likely to be available at 4 o'clock than in the middle of the day or later in the evening. So, and one thing I will say too, as part of the application, we're offering the course for free, but we also understand that there's still a time burden that we're asking of people if they want to attend. So we are able to offer a limited number of stipends to help make it possible. And we did have a few takers on that in La Crosse, and there are no strings attached, but my thought was, well, if you need childcare, or if you're missing a little bit of work, or if you have to order out dinner because you're attending class, something like that. Yeah.
If you're doing some virtual, is every session recorded? So somehow us who work retail or manage a business or run a business can see it later?
All of the Zoom sessions are recorded, at least the part with the speaker and the Q&A.
Right.
And then I post them on an unlisted YouTube link and make them available to the class. Yep. And there's obviously, we ask people to come to all the sessions that they can, but obviously there are going to be times when you have to miss. So yeah, we do make it available.
Okay.
Any more questions?
That's actually something that you just touched at the end. Members or folks who are non-students who wanted to participate, they don't have to necessarily attend every week
I mean, we
It's
would
preferable,
like you
obviously,
to.
but, you know, if scheduling conflicts arise, that they're not beholden to having to show up.
Right.
every week.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
The UWSP students, are they paying for that credit?
Yeah, they are. That is between them and the university. And we did, in lacrosse, we had, I think we're going to have more spots open for UWSP students here. We're just going to kind of have to see how many applications come in. But in lacrosse, we had just a few spots, but there were 2 students that took it for credit and 1 student who didn't want to pay tuition, so he just took it as a community member. And it was fine. It was,
Are you
Had a
going
great time.
to notice the meeting so that everyone in the commission can go?
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to say at the end is, yeah, once we get the scheduling lined up, I'll post something. So majority of you, all of you can attend, and they're not being a quorum issue.
great.
Or part of them.
And I guess any other
Yeah.
committee, commission,
Yes.
council for that matter, if there's
Right.
alders, for example.
Yep.
Any other question? I see Trevor, your hand is up. Any other comments, at least for the, or comments, questions from the commission at first, or for first chance? Okay, Trevor, all yours.
Check, 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hear you.
All right. I just want to say thank you, Susan and 1,000 Friends, for bringing this to little old Stevens Point. It's pretty cool. We're really excited about this opportunity. I really hope a lot of people take advantage of this. With this short summary, it's hard to understand the full scope and impact of it, but this is the kind of thing that gets me really excited, so I hope a lot of people take advantage of it.
We sure hope so, too.
Are the, just thought of this now, are the YouTube videos from lacrosse still available for viewing, or is that?
Yeah,
taken
they're
down?
still unlisted. I'm happy to share them with anybody who wants to watch.
Just if there's
Yeah.
any folks who are curious about kind of scope of what would be discussed, if they wanted to watch a snippet of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, just contact me. I'm happy to send you the link. Yeah. One thing I want to add is, because this is a question that came up with someone earlier, someone asked me, like, is there anything I should read to prepare for this? And the answer is no. Like, I put together the curriculum. We have guest speakers, so I say I facilitate the class, and I work pretty hard to make it accessible for anybody. You don't have to have a degree in planning or anything, to benefit from this class. A lot of the benefit actually is from the range of experience of people who take the class. And the speakers understand who's in the class and so far have done a fantastic job of making the material really accessible to everybody, while also valuable for people who are taking it for professional development. So we can't solve your problems in 10 weeks of all of the street issues in Stevens Point, but we are hoping to build some knowledge to help address the things that you need to address. So, any more questions?
We are it. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I have all these postcards and things. Can I just maybe leave them on a table for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Appreciate it, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the update on the safe streets and roads for all grant application submittal.
Thank you, Chair. So as folks may recall, the whole idea of applying for this grant was first brought before the commission earlier this year. I'd say January, February, March was kind of the beginnings of the conversation related to this grant. As folks may recall, really the focus of this grant is going to cover really 3 different topics. One, producing a comprehensive safety action plan. So addressing, locating troublesome areas in terms of traffic safety that you may see firsthand within the community, within the county, or just anecdotal evidence that you hear amongst your constituents, amongst your friends, family, about just troublesome areas. You know, say there's a intersection that you have to cross, but it's super hard to see oncoming traffic because, say, there's a man-made structure that's blocking the view. There's vegetation. There's the speed of the speed that's going perpendicular to you that makes it a little bit troublesome to cross. You know, those would be kind of the traffic situations that would be addressed within this comprehensive safety action plan, and then really providing solutions as to what potential outcomes could exist to help address that issue. Included in the packet, we provided a snapshot of the county showing traffic fatalities, injuries over a 4-year span from 2017 to 2021. So those locations will be of emphasis should we be awarded this grant to really target and provide meaningful solutions as part of this planning process. Second project focus would be supplemental planning to update the countywide bike ped plan. As we talked about last time, the current iteration of the bike ped plan was adopted in 2014, and like any planning document, since we're approaching the 10-year mark in April, it's time in the near future that we should look at doing an update to that, regardless of how expansive of an update it would be, just providing new data, new context in there, based providing new community input depending on, you know, if that input has changed over the last 10 years. And then the last one being to conduct demonstration activities to support both of the aforementioned project focuses. So these would be demonstration activities, really having boots on the ground, so to speak. So once you've identified troublesome areas, having a temporary demonstration activity to really to analyze traffic behavior, to analyze if safety is perceived to be different, or perceived to be improved based off of a given transportation strategy that's taken place. So let's just say for an intersection that's just say troublesome to cross, a demonstration activity could be having a couple hay bales in the middle of the intersection to kind of mimic a traffic circle to see, you know, driver behavior over time. Does it result in less close calls? Are you able to analyze a trend over a 8+ week-long event? For the case of a longer highway, possibly doing a variable speed test, as the chair knows quite well in his professional background, to see, you know, just driver behavior. How does folks generally take on basically a new law, a new traffic, a new road feature that's introduced on a given roadway. Timeline, as we mentioned in the memorandum to you all, the application was due on July 10th, yesterday. We submitted the application on Friday morning. So results will be announced in October, and if awarded, I'd anticipate probably around January 1, give or take, January, February of 2024 is when we'd kickstart. So this is kind of sugarcoating, providing the bare bones, but there's going to be a lot here should we be awarded the grant, as far as really next steps, involvement amongst the subcommittees that's alluded to in the memorandum, and then also from this commission as well. You know, these urban area steering committee, the rural area steering committee that would be established should we be awarded the grant would focus on a much larger geographical area, urban area focusing generally Point, Plover, Whiting, Park Ridge, and then the surrounding townships, Town Hall, Stockton, Plover. But there's naturally going to be input and discretion that's going to be wanted from this commission to focus on city specific. So there's going to be, you know, ample time where this commission can provide opinions, recommendation, input to this urban area steering committee to identify locations specifically or wanting to promote specific demonstration activities, strategies, etc. Last one I'll just mention, I know there is a component of the grant application, of the grant should we be awarded, is to essentially adopt a resolution amongst the 5 jurisdictions saying, hey, we aim in the years ahead to reduce the number of traffic injuries and fatalities over a set duration of time. So that'll be something that, should we be awarded the grant, we'll have that initial conversation amongst this commission as to the framework of that resolution, the verbiage within that, and then ultimately kicking that through committee and council thereafter. So, like I said, this is a very kind of a short summary. There's a lot into the grant application. Trevor, you're on the call, as you know as well, being a co-grant author. So happy to take any questions about the grant itself, or if you have any questions about next steps, involvement amongst this commission, should we be awarded.
I have a question. I just think that it's wonderful that we've applied for it and we've gotten our application in.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the sort of stuff that gets you where you want to go. Eventually, you want to get so that people at least understand why you're doing it.
Yeah, and I'll note the total project cost that was included as part of the grant application was $250,000. So that's, you can get a lot of good stuff done
Yes.
within focusing on these three project areas. And you know, if the feds will pay 80% of that, I mean, it doesn't hurt at least to try. If we don't get awarded, that'll be a bummer, but you know, there's always next year. And if we do, there's a lot of good work that'll happen thereafter.
Any other?
I was wondering, like, are the goals going to be totally different from what's already written in our other sheets, or are we going to keep some or just adjust, or?
As far as the update to the countywide bike ped plan or the safety action plan, are you asking?
Like the countywide plan?
Yeah, so, you know, in terms of goals, objectives, so one of the things that would have to happen early on is, if we're awarded in the fall is when we go through the RFP process, hire an outside firm to really do the brunt of the work. In Q1 of 2024 is when it'd really be imperative of the outside firm to hold these stakeholder meetings, to conduct these listening sessions, to really see from the community, from Stevens Point, from Plover, from the rural areas of the county, what do you want to see? And really the comments, the perspectives that are received during these public input meetings will be in part kind of the focus, the narrative as to what goals are kept and what goals are modified, added as part of this new plan.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Trevor? I see your hand up.
Yes. Can you hear me okay again?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, just to piggyback on Adam, this is another exciting opportunity for the entire county. It's multi-jurisdictional, so it's really a cool collaboration between the cities, the city, Village of Plover, Whiting Park Ridge, Amherst Junction, et cetera, really good opportunity to collaborate on getting safer streets throughout the county. To address your question, Nina, as well, there are a lot of recommendations in the bike ped plan that have been realized, which is awesome. So it's a matter of, you know, like Adam mentioned, the consultant would pretty much go through and strip out those things that are done, assess what's remaining, see if they're still feasible to pursue those recommendations, and then potentially create new ones as each community is engaged. Also, I don't know, Adam, if you did mention this, I apologize if I didn't hear it, but part of the bike ped update of that plan is a safe routes to school supplement, essentially like a component to it. So, you know, that safe routes to school plan has a lot to it. If you haven't looked at it lately, it's extremely comprehensive for every school in the district. So that'll be nice to get updated as well. So, yeah, very excited for this as well. Hopefully we get it. Cross your fingers.
Yes.
So we're dividing this, if we get this grant, with the other municipalities around here. Is there anything in there that requires us that we have to do a community thing, or can we use our proceeds just in Stevens Point for our own special projects?
As far as the local match,
Yes, no, the funds and what we get. Can we use it just for Stevens Point, or do we have to spread it out with the?
so the 250,000, the total project cost would be spread out amongst the whole county. Ultimately, it'll be a conversation amongst the steering committees, the urban and the rural steering committees, once they're formed and once conversations take place as to, what's going to be the specific areas of focus. I guess specifically with the urban area steering committee between Point Plover, Whiting, Park Ridge, what's the singular locations that folks want to target as part of this plan? If it, it's going to be equally spread out. It's not like all of it's going to be in Plover. It's not like all of it's going to be in Point. There's going to be a degree of fairness involved amongst the different jurisdictions. But yeah, just by nature of the urban area focus and the size that Stevens Point is relative to the broader urban area, quote unquote, there's going to be a fair amount of projects focused just in the city limits for sure.
Am I correct in understanding that this $250,000 is for creating a plan, not for implementing it, right?
Correct.
Yes,
for creating the
and
plan.
much of the money will be going towards a firm or firms or whatever that will be guiding the creation and the eventual writing of the plan, like with the countywide bike ped.
Yeah, and going forward, once the plan is produced, then that's an opportunity for the council to pick specific projects identified within the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan and within the countywide bike ped plan to say, this is what we want to focus on as a community going forward, and then here are funding opportunities available to help implement those projects. There's implementation grants offered through the US DOT through the same grant program. There's also others on the state and federal level that the city could tap into. So once the plan is adopted, which, kind of looking out into future, there's a lot of hurdles they'll have to be jumped over. I think it's reasonable to say Q3, Q4 of 2025 is when we hope that these planning documents are produced. At that point is when I think it would be imperative of us to have a conversation to really try to implement that. Because as you know, we don't want to produce a plan and just let it sit on a shelf, right? We actually want to do something with it. So that'll be a conversation for sure.
Aren't the demonstration activities, those generally are regular projects in federal lingo, which would mean you might get a small project out of it to say whether something works, let's say one intersection signalization, something like that.
Yeah, and I'll say, I'm thinking of, I'll use a specific example. It's by all means, it doesn't mean that this is going to be the specific area that's focused or a specific demonstration activity that's going to occur here, but as part of the comp plan efforts for the Gerke, Washington area, one of the areas that was brought up continuously was Green Avenue, as far as traffic, speeding, that being used naturally as a connector for semi-traffic, truck traffic from Highway 10 to Highway 66. So if there's a concern specifically with speeding, there's ample types of demonstration activities that could occur that could be used as an indicator to see what types of potential permanent infrastructure improvements would actually work or not. There's a charrette could be one example. If there's a specific intersection doing the traffic circle and mini roundabout. There's a lot of, the beauty of transportation planning, as the chair knows quite well, given, again, your professional background, is that there's a lot of implementation projects, types of projects that could occur. It's just a matter of kind of picking that specific project, that type of project that works the best for that given situation. So.
Any other?
Yeah, one more. It doesn't really have anything to do with this, but it's been nagging on me since I've listened to the presentation and everything.
Yeah.
A comment in general. Last night at the committee meetings, there was a discussion regarding the Highway 51 project, the Business 51 project.
Sure.
And it was probably a 15 to 20-minute debate on what's going to happen at the intersection of Division and 4th, if it's going to be a stoplight or if it's going to be a roundabout. And with University walking pedestrians and stuff, the city doesn't know really which way to go, in my opinion, just listening to them last night. And I think that they're going to need some input.
Yeah, and I think the whole Business 51 corridor, if there's questions as to the feasibility, we'll use the intersection specifically as an example. There naturally could be a demonstration activity occurring just at that intersection, say a traffic circle, a mini roundabout, to see over a 8, 10, 12-week span, how does that look? How does that feel? Should we be awarded the grant? Yeah, that's a conversation we'll have to have with Scott, kind of building on conversations we've had in the past with him, Nathan Check, our county highway commissioner, Roy, blanking on the last name, the Plover's public works manager. That'll be a conversation that amongst our 5 jurisdictions we'll have to sit down and focus on what specific areas. But yeah, I think if there's ultimately interest in that area specifically, I don't see why we can't do that as part of a demonstration activity. There's just kind of future conversations I'll have to be had as to logistics.
Now we have what I know you've all been waiting for, a discussion on the 2023 bicycle and pedestrian count.
It is that time of the year. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to provide an update. So I have a finalized date of Tuesday, September 12th from 3:30 to 5:30 as the set date for the count, with the rain date of Thursday, September 14th at the same time. Typically in years past, we've always had it on a Wednesday. Don't want to schedule the count and the CTAs during the same day and time, so it'll be Tuesday. Folks who you are, anybody that you're aware that may be interested in volunteering for the count, pass them over my way or have a conversation with me, and I can have a conversation with them. But yeah, this is more so just an update as to when the day and time will be for the count, and as included within page 25 of the packet, we have the list of intersections that were counted from last year. So if there was any comments that you would want to provide as to locations that should be taken out, locations that should be added, happy to hear it just to assist me in planning for this in September.
You know, really, all of these were pretty active intersections.
Yeah.
I think we have a pretty good list, and these really have value if you go from year to year. An individual year has little value.
Yeah.
You want to see trends, and you want to see if, well, one year we had a cross-country meet go through an intersection, and it sort of screwed up the pedestrian. It didn't. It sort of enhanced the pedestrian numbers.
Well, and thankfully, if we notice anomalies like that, you know, our volunteers will know that.
You write that down.
Yeah, as you can see on the report from before, it included that there were cross-country runners. They were practicing.
Yeah.
But also, we had eliminated one prior to last year.
That was
it was way
HH,
out on HH.
HH,
And I had brought up that I think we
West
should
River.
eliminate Burlesque and EM cops because but, you know, or to discuss that and see. That's a new one we added, and there has been very little traffic there, but we want to talk about that more. I don't know.
If we were to get rid of that one, I would do Patch and it's either Hoover or Country Club where
And we've done
people-
that before too, and then it was dropped
Yeah,
for some
but,
reason, yeah.
You know, I see commuters all the time out there, and
So maybe bring back
I think part
Patch
of
Street
the
and
problem
Country
is our
Club Drive.
timing.
yeah, I do too.
I don't think that we get them because of our time of count isn't such that we would get them all together.
No.
Morning works would be much
Yeah.
better,
30 to
but we're not doing
5:30.
it, but I agree with you, it does have.
Yeah, I mean, I commute to work at 8:30 to 9 in the morning, and then I leave after 6 from the business park.
But
yeah.
yeah, we have 3:30 to 5:30, but would a lot of people be leaving that
Well,
as late as you do?
You'll never get it right.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. But I mean, that is kind of a
I
going
mean-
back from work time.
We could talk to
3:30
the DOT,
5:30.
they do have some technology where we could get a count there, we could do a 24-hour or 48-hour count.
Just like we count on a green circle board,
Same thing,
different sections around town.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that technology would be better than a physical count.
I have Trevor, I see you raised your hand. I guess first, if there's any other comments specific to Berlowski and cops, or any other comments broadly before we
No.
get over Trevor. Okay, Trevor?
Yeah, just wanted to mention, don't be discouraged by a smaller number of pedestrians or bicyclists or those using personal conveyance devices. That can be also an indicator as to if the street is working. You know, it could tell the planners, the grant writers, et cetera, if the street is efficient with moving people as opposed to just cars. So don't be discouraged by that. You know, you could get a low count at a certain spot. I think it's still valuable to sometimes try to get those locations if we can.
I don't quite understand what you mean by that would show that it's working, Trevor. If there are very few people that use the intersection, aren't we doing this mainly to make sure the intersections are safe?
It's only during that
Don't
time
I
period
get-
that there's a few.
Yes.
Oh, because of the time period, you mean?
it's all
Okay,
time.
okay.
Yes and no.
So designers-
If you have a low count of, say, pedestrians using an intersection throughout the day, whether you're doing a count at the beginning of the rush hour or the end of the rush hour, that could tell you that this intersection is not functioning efficiently,
Oh, it's not.
or it might not be safe.
Okay,
So it's okay to get a low count.
All right.
That's just the data.
all right.
So that's my point, that if you get low numbers, that's okay. It's not really a reason to shift away from a certain intersection or location.
Okay, I heard the opposite, okay.
Okay.
There are
All right.
other ways we could get information like that, and when we have somebody doing the study, we could get somebody that could map the desire lines to see where people want to go to and from, and then you'd see there are certain intersections that they would like to go through, but they choose not to, and that would be an origin-destination count. But that would be beyond our group to do.
Right.
Because you stop everybody and you ask them where you're coming from, where
Yeah,
you're going to.
that's really
And what is the
complex.
purpose of your trip. But we did it for Stevens Point, and every single car that was coming in and out of Point for 16 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'll just note too, should we be awarded that grant when discussed for agenda item number
Yes.
4, there'll be more walk audit, there'll be more bike ped counts, there'll be more walk audits as part of that planning process. So again, cross fingers, hopefully we get it, and if so, maybe we can incorporate a count for Berlowski and EM during the morning hours.
Another intersection to consider, or really an intersection, is the new spot on the pedestrian walkway and bicycle route on 10 over the interstate.
That's a good idea.
We really
That's a
have no
really good
idea what's going on
Now,
there.
you see, that one, the DOT may already have counted because it's a, no, it's a classified highway. And they may already have a 16-hour count on there.
More in depth, okay.
And so part of it will be our coordination with the DOT to see what they have, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And if not, I mean, by
Right.
all means, it'd be helpful to
Yeah.
have that data, because I'm curious.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of pedestrian traffic just coming from the motels, walking over to the fast food places and Target and places like that.
They actually walk on the wrong side of the highway. They cut across.
Yes, they do.
Across Main or 10 or 60.
Still a little
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many crossings.
Anything else?
I just wanted to comment on the low numbers that maybe if it's on here because you think it should be a busy area and people are crossing, then it should be then, instead of just taking it off, a target of auditing and seeing why people wouldn't want to cross it, and then if we do stuff, how that would, if it improves. You wouldn't get that data if you just took it off the list.
Brulowski and EM Cops is sort of a, I mean, there's not much there. I think that's why there isn't much pedestrian and bicycle traffic, because it's not part of neighborhoods, it's not part of retail, really.
I mean, there is during the
Sure.
day. I mean, like we said, the time periods are that we're looking at. I mean, I could sit in my office and watch people go up and down Brulowski Road or County R. I mean, there's people constantly out there biking and walking.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
As a commuter, I see.
So mainly it's other commuters probably, yeah.
Well, we count
Or-
them though.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. No, I'm just like,
But you have people walking.
Trying to-
I mean, even on Jordan's Drive from where Hirschner's is,
Yeah.
that's kind of a weird intersection right there, Patch and where the railroad overpass is, even though there's the flashing, the lights you can press. There, some days I can sit there and you'll have 3 people at the intersection and all 3 people take a different way to cross that intersection. But there are a lot of people out there.
Yes.
I mean, it's a busy place. It's hard to pick. I mean, we were just going over counts on the Green Circle Board this morning at my other meeting I had. And it's amazing the different sections of the community that get more users through than what you would think. I mean, some have more, some have less, and it all depends.
All right. The next thing is Adam is going to help us with the scheduling of the walk audit for 2024 street reconstruction projects.
Yes. So, I'll start by saying typically each year we conduct a walk roll audit of certain street segments that are going to be reconstructed the following year to help gauge existing conditions, anything that stands out, plus have a good conversation with Scott, Public Works Director, to acknowledge what is planned to be incorporated as part of that reconstruction project. So, like I said, typically in past years, we've always done a walk roll audit just based off of the scheduling that took place last year as part of the 2022 street improvement plan. Not everything was able to be completed in 2022, so some of those same street segments were carried over as part of the street project for this year. So that's the reason why this year we have not done or last year we did not do a walk roll audit. As 2024 rolls around, crazy to think that we're over halfway to 2024 already, but now is really the time to start focusing on street segments for next year. So there's 3 different areas that's planned for, tentatively planned for reconstruction. Out of those 3, the area that, at least internally, seems to be most appropriate for this commission would be segments of Maria Drive and Walker Street. So as part of this walk roll audit for later this year, we'll focus on the stretch of Maria Drive from Division Street to 2nd Street North. And then Walker Street, really the whole chunk of Walker Street from 2nd Street to the east to as far west as you can go. To the woods. And one of the things that kind of drew me towards this area relative to the other 2 areas planned for reconstruction is just given the whole convent redevelopment, that'll be a good context to discuss this influx of people that's going to be residing within the convent building. How does that work in the context of bike ped accommodations? And then for future planning by specifically the Union Street extension that you see already constructed now, how does that Union Street North extension kind of work in the context of bike ped accommodations for this area? So this is probably our first example over the last few years now where we can kind of focus on both past, present, and future bike ped accommodations. So something that honestly I'm looking forward to. It's always good to kind of have boots on the ground, so to speak, and do this. So yeah, this conversation today is more so acknowledging where the project area is and then try to get a rough idea as to when this walk roll will happen. So typically we have the walk roll audit in August, usually about the 2nd, 3rd week. So you know, I can work on the logistics about scheduling later on, but I guess, is there any stretch of days in August amongst the 6 of you that you know, hey, I'm going to be out of town, I'm going to be on vacation, I'm going to be just not going to be here and not going to be able to attend? Because it's beneficial if the 6 of you can attend, not required, but it'd be helpful just to kind of get a sense of how this commission is involved in the whole context of street improvement project.
I will be gone the first week in August through the 5th.
That would be the toughest one for me too, to make
Through the 5th as well?
the same week.
Yeah, I'm gone through the 5th or 6th, and then probably the best time would be after the 20th of August for me.
Okay.
I have a biking event I'm putting on.
You? Is it
Standing Rocks.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, anything that stands out, at least right now?
The 5th through the 13th is bad for me.
Okay, no, through the 13th. Okay, then Carolyn?
Nothing, I don't have anything in stone yet, so.
Okay. Perfect.
Same, I don't have anything scheduled really yet.
Perfect. Like I said, I'll reach out to you. Let's see, if today is the 11th, I'm hoping to get something scheduled by end of month, but I'll keep you posted. That is it.
There be no further business.
Trevor. I didn't see your hand raised.
Sorry, the online guy. Adam, did you say there are 3 different corridors planned for next summer's reconstruction?
Yes.
Okay, is it possible to do 3 different walk audits since they're highly informative to the city's planning projects?
Potentially, just with conversations with Scott, it was perceived, or at least it was a recommendation that this area would be, the Maria and Walker Street stretch would have top priority. If timing works, we could potentially do the other 2. It's just, at least at this time, I'd want to focus on this first segment to start.
So that's quite a chunk too. It's long.
Yeah, because I know the other 2 sections, it's pretty expansive in terms of roadway and one of them technically is not adding sidewalk, so you're not getting as much fruitfulness, so to speak. So.
Does the commission know what the other 2 projects are?
So the first, so that's one as part of the capital improvement plan for next year. And I'll say, I mean, this ultimately would be subject to capital budget approval later this year. So there's still obviously approvals that's needed by finance and council to authorize the financials of it. But the other one would be Bliss Avenue and Park Street, I believe, as part of the second segment. And then the other one would be a chunk of 6th Ave, I believe.
Okay. I mean, I think, just speaking out loud here, Bliss Avenue is a big deal when it comes to students walking to and from the neighborhood. Is that the section that's not going to get sidewalk? Or not planned for sidewalk?
Yeah, I'm not positive offhand. I guess that's something I would want to confirm with Scott.
Okay. Yeah, just thinking out loud, it might be very beneficial, even if it's a meeting at an intersection or something. So, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Do you have that other map? There was the diagram map, and then you showed us the Google one. I think that was showing all the construction that you had up there.
That I had on the screen just now?
You had the one that was the.
Oh, I just had an aerial view.
But was the previous one you had a map, was that of the streets too?
In past years, I had just made a quick map on GIS that would show the specific street segments and kind of
Oh, that's
information
what I thought
for the
that you
tour
had
itself.
just before you showed this one, but that was something different.
Nope, so once we get closer to the event, I'll send the map to you all saying, basically more of an illustrative map showing specific street segments where we're going to meet up.
Right,
So-
but I was just, since we're talking about the other ones, since we're talking about all three, I was just wondering if you could like quickly.
Oh, yeah. So 6th Ave obviously would be here, and then Bliss would be,
It's on the south side.
yeah, farther down by, so Bliss, Park Street, where Dog Park is. So you
For
can
the
tell
one-
just driving by there.
Right, so that's the south side. And then the one that was, that's Walker and Maria. Is Walker the street that runs into Maria?
No, it would be
it's-
one.
It's south of it.
One segment.
One
to the south.
one block south.
So Walker would be here,
And
so one
then
block to the south
A little
of Madison.
dig up, okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
I've got a question. I guess there's no under other on the agenda. Is there a schedule for when the bike lanes are going to be repainted around town, or are we waiting until it snows again?
Since that's not on the agenda, we can touch
Okay,
base.
good.
Off camera.
I had somebody ask me about that.
Sure.
There being no further business, we stand adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.